So welcome everybody to How Well Is Your Magazine Doing? So this is workshop 2. A couple of weeks ago, my colleague and I, Peter, taught you all how to install Google Analytics. We looked at GA4, which is the new Google Analytics, since Universal Analytics is being sunsetted. And we also talked about Google Tag Manager. So now that we've given it about a month for your website to start gathering all this data, let's now look at this data, learn how to interpret it, and let's figure out how we can actually incorporate this into an actual marketing and sales strategy plan. So it would be one of the things that I think is going to be really important as we go through Google Analytics is to, yes, acknowledge that the numbers are a lot. There's a lot to look at on each and every screen. But what I want to do is I want to show you maybe every week for 15 minutes, you can spend a little bit of time in Google Analytics, get the information you need, and then get out. You know, your job is not to spend all your time in Google Analytics. Your objective should be to look at the data within Analytics and then be able to make decisions based off of that. So it's maybe you've worked on your gut feelings for a while, and which is, I totally agree with. I think that we should. But when you combine gut feeling with actual real data and metrics, you'll be in a much better place when it comes to actual sales and marketing strategy in terms of content creation, who you want your advertisers to be, who you want to attract as writers to your website, what kind of topics you want to cover. So I want you to think about how cool it would be to be actually able to make strategic marketing sales decisions based on real data. And if you knew exactly who your current audience is, where they're coming from, and then how to attract more of them to your magazine. I worked with one organization who targeted all of Canada, national, only to realize that only 25% of their market or people visiting their site was Canadian, and the rest were American. So what we ended up doing was everything. We targeted the United States, and we ended up getting US dollars for funding. So, I mean, and if you think about the exchange rate, that's 30%. So we pivoted really quickly in terms of audience targeting, and we ended up making 30% more on every single sale, and even more than that because we were just targeting the right places, and we were able to leverage off of a different currency. So just something to think about as like, wow, I didn't even know that was possible. That is entirely possible with what you learn from Google Analytics. It'd also be really cool if you had a plan for how you want to start ranking your magazine on Google, whether it's Google, Yahoo, Bing, whatever search engines you're targeting. Google Analytics is always a great starting point, that and Google Search Console. So what's it going to take? So the secret is data, and like lots and lots and lots of it. And the most important part is that you know how to interpret that data. Okay. So last month when we did the Google Analytics integration and we did, a little bit of tag manager work, you'll start to see data slowly filter in. And the longer you give it, the more data you get and the better data it'll be. So here's what you're going to walk away with. You'll learn how to interpret the data in each of the reports on your Google Analytics dashboard. Since the change from UA to GA4 or Universal Analytics to GA4, there is a big difference in the type of content that you're going to get. So I'm actually going to show you a couple of tricks in Universal Analytics that you can take away with you now before it changes over fully in July. Like there's information you can get very easily in Universal Analytics that you can start actioning on now. That might be a little bit more challenging to get in GA4, but it is still possible to get. You just might need a developer in order to build those reports for you. We're also going to use the information gathered from each report and then turn them into actionable strategies. So it's great to know that the majority of your people come from California, Virginia, Texas, and Washington. So that means that those are the 4 main states that you want to target versus targeting all of the United States. You're targeting just 4 states because you know that for example, your readership is that much. I worked with another magazine the other week, and that's what we discovered, right? So while they thought that the majority of their market was coming from Canada, it couldn't have been farther from the truth. So, and as we know, you can't always speak to Americans the same way that you speak to Canadians. There's a lot of things going on in the United States. So suddenly content changed and strategies changed. And now we're getting double the traffic just because we saw what the data told us and we just pivoted based on that. Another thing I want you to walk away with, and this is extremely important, is for you to understand your target audience better. And the goal of that is so that you can start creating like a marketing and content strategy that actually speaks to them. You know, sometimes you may think your target audience is this, and over time that changes. You know, when I did my website, I thought I was targeting X group of businesses, but that started to morph as a year passed, and I started to see what I was starting to get. You start to see the types of clients that come through. It's through that you're able to make better decisions. So yes, gut feeling is fantastic, but when you combine it with metrics and data, you're in a good place. Okay. So these are the different kinds of reports that you can get through Google Analytics for. Okay, things like acquisition, retention, engagement, demographics, monetization, and tech. I'll explain what all of these mean. So acquisition. Okay, so I'm marking these with little flags. These are a sign to you that these are the things that you need to keep track of while you're in Google Analytics. So questions to keep in mind when we're going through all these different reports, and I'll refer back to this screen, is when it comes to acquisition and you're looking at these reports, your main goal is to know where your readers are coming from and how this is actually going to impact how you market. Okay, so how you structure your social media posts. You just had a great article publish on your website and now you want to advertise it. So you're telling your partners that, hey, I've got this awesome article. Can you share it? Your own social media, you're going to be sharing that. It's really important to know that, you know, if you have for example, a male identified audience or a female, femme, whatever identified audience, or if it's non-binary or if it's a BIPOC audience, these are the kinds of things that you're going to learn. Going down to engagement. In this area, I like to know what pages people are on the most and which content has gotten the most views and why, right? So as you can see, there are a lot of different reports, but there are specific things that you want to get from these reports. You want to answer these most basic questions. And there's only 2 or 3 questions here, and there's lots more questions that you could ask. But for the purposes of this workshop, and also for the purposes of your sanity, because who wants to be in Google Analytics all the time? That's a lot of information. You want to know what people like, because your goal is not necessarily to create what you love, it's to create what your audience is going to love. And maybe those things are one and the same, but you have to know how you can work that to your advantage. Monetization, you know, are your ads working? Can you pivot your sales strategy and make more, right? Kind of like what we did with our advertisers who were targeting mostly Americans versus Canadians. You know, we made our advertisers 30% more and then we got a bigger cut. Like who wouldn't want that, right? Retention. How many new and returning users do you have? And what are you going to do to boost those numbers? You know, these are much larger questions that we'll cover in, you know, workshop 3, but I just wanted to touch on it so that you see that metrics to interpretation to actual strategy. Like there's a very specific, there are very specific steps that you need to take when you're using the information from Google Analytics. You don't just look at the data and say, yay, great, and then not do anything with it, right? These are the types of questions you want to answer. Demographics. Who is your audience as indicated in Google Analytics? And is it different than what you thought? And if they are, what does that mean for you? And then tech. Are you mobile friendly? You know, are you built on WordPress? Are you built on Squarespace? Are you built on a platform that is really great on desktop, but is horrible on mobile? And do we learn from Google Analytics that the majority of your people are on mobile and your site isn't mobile friendly? You have a big problem, right? So you also want to think about what this means for your UI and UX. That's a fancy pants terms for user interface and user experience. How easy is it for them to navigate? How easy is it for them to browse through your magazine or your website, find the articles they like through the different categories? Like these are the types of things that you want to be able to answer, right? These are the types of things that for all intents and purposes, as a content creator, as a business, you need to know the answers to these, right? Um, so let's go. So you all have your own Google Analytics open. I'm actually going to be using the Google Merchandise Store for example data. So I'm going to hop over into Google Analytics, and this is going to be a hands-on workshop. So we are going to go over here. So this is the Google Analytics, the Google Merchandise Store. So it tells you, this is the actual store where Google sells hats and water bottles and watch covers and, laptop covers and sweatshirts and whatnot. So I'm going to use this as my example, and feel free to follow along. So you'll be able to go back. So don't feel the need to go back and forth and drive yourself nuts trying to be there. Maybe just follow me as I go. So when you click on the report snapshot, this gives you a high-level overview of what's been happening on your site. Okay, it tells you how many users you had in the last 30 minutes. You can view that in your real-time reports, but I'll show that later. It shows you users and how much of those were new and how much of those were returning. The average engagement time, big difference between Universal Analytics and GA4. Universal Analytics gives you bounce rate. GA4 gives you engagement rate. There is no longer any more bounce rate because Google found it more useful to organizations and businesses to tell them how engaged the audience is. And usually engagement is measured in the number of pages that they look through and the amount of time that they spend on your website, which makes total sense, right? Where are they looking? How many pages? How long are they spending on it? It's kind of like if you had a brick and mortar, right? How many people are coming in through my doors? What kind of clothes are they looking at? And how long do they stay in my store? So let's keep going. You can also look here to see where users are coming from. Are they direct? Are they organic? Are they coming from other networks? Are they coming from your ads? Are they referrals? So are they coming from partner websites? Is it from an email campaign? Is it from organic social? So these are the types of things that you want to know. Seeing here that the majority of things come from direct, that's a really good sign to tell you that you're doing a great job with direct, but over here with email and organic, you could be doing so much better because you know what? This is free. This is all free stuff that you can do on your own. Okay? This little insight center, you need your GA4 tag to be running for quite a while before insights show up. But just to let you know, like it'll give you little like cool tidbits like, hey, did you know that your users spiked on April 5th? What did you do on April 5th? Your organic search appeared in 80% of your conversion path. So it showed up 80% of the time when you wanted to show up, right? This shows you users by country. So you can see here the United States and India are your top 3 countries, which is always really good to know, okay? Because you want to know where your people are coming from, where the potential dollars are and where the potential eyeballs are. Because not only are you trying to make this maybe a profitable venture for yourself, you want to provide value to your people, right? And topics in the United States are very different from topics that you maybe want to talk about in Canada, especially if you're talking about more political issues, or if you're not talking about that at all, and you're just talking about fashion. It's really good to know, whether or artwork or art and creativity. It's really good to know, like who's better funded. What cities are doing this? Is there a way for you to create partnerships with people in the States? Like different things like that you never considered before, but you do now. This also tells you user activity by cohort. So it gives you like a time frame of like who showed up when, what weeks were your best. So these are actually really nice things to know. These are your top web pages, which is one of my favorite places to be, one of my favorite places to look at. You can see here, these are events and conversions. These happen through Google Tag Manager usually. So it's great if you've already set that up. If you haven't set that up, be sure to reach out to me and my developer, and I can help you set up all your events in your Google Tag Manager so you don't have to worry about that.
Hi, Emily. A couple of questions in the chat feed.
Yeah, let me have a look. Okay, what is the difference between users? Okay, can you confirm the URL again? Oh, yeah. So this is just the Google Analytics demo account. So I'm using this. So if you all want to follow along, I want it to everyone in this meeting, feel free to hop in and follow along. It's open for everyone to look at. And what is the difference between users and new users? Users, new users are people who have never been to your site before, so their IP address has never been counted. Whereas returning users are people who have been to the site before. So, for example, I work with a makeup company, and they try to match their promotions to Sephora. Sephora is a really large makeup store. They're like everywhere in Canada and the United States. So they want to be able to calculate how many people are new coming to their site to take advantage of discounts and how many people are returning, because it's those returning users that are really great. Then the reason why, in terms of marketing, returning users are great is because you've already proved to them your worth, and that's why they are coming back to you. Whereas new users are coming to get an initial experience. So your goal for your website, if we're looking at the sales and marketing side of things and how you want to interpret data, is when you look at new users and returning users, what kind of experience are you giving your returning users? Is it the same experience? Is it a consistent experience? Is it an experience that they can rely upon, where they always know they can turn to you for this type of information? And for new users, how do you show up to them? Is it an organized website? Is the homepage easy to navigate? Is all your information really beautifully spread out with lovely headlines and great images? So you need to start thinking about what the first impression is, and then what you want an ongoing experience to look like, right? And that's all part of a marketing plan, like how you want your content structured on your website. So over here, you can also look at, if you're selling anything on your site, but I don't think you are, so I'm going to skip that. So I'll just take you through to real time. So real time shows you what you're doing now, okay? And there's one specific, I don't usually hang out in real time unless it's for one reason, and that's when I do a launch. Either I do a website launch, or I launch a new product, or I launch a new article. I work with an organization that has a lot of ties with a fellow named Gabor Mate. He's really hot in the market right now, and he's doing a lot of speaking events. So when we run campaigns and when we run speaking engagements, I'm often in real time to see how certain pages are performing, to see whether or not the registration page is getting a lot of hits. So that's where I usually am. It's when I launch something, or when I put out a really maybe controversial article, or I just got featured in Forbes, or this product is part of our top 10 best blah, 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 right? That's usually where I would use real time for. Okay. So I'm going to go over into life cycle. So life cycle is where you're going to find 4 different kinds of reports, okay? You're going to find acquisition, engagement, monetization, and retention, okay? All the same things that we mentioned here, with all the exact same questions that I'm asking you. So these questions are the things that you want to ask yourself when you're in your Google Analytics. So let's look at acquisition first. Let's just go into an overview. So here's something really cool about this, is it's telling you all the different places where new users are coming from. So let's have a look at user acquisition. So again, this just gives you a snapshot as to how you're doing. This is only for over the course of a month. So you can see that they're slowly trending upwards. Fantastic. You can see here that the users, they've got 7 to 8 times more people. For every one person that's from Canada, there are 8 people from the United States on the website. So great to know. So let's go over to user acquisition. So after I take you through all these reports, I'm going to show you some really cool things you could do with this search bar. Okay. So you can see here that we've got like user acquisition, which is basically saying, where did my users come from? How did my website acquire these people? Okay. So you can see here that for Google, it came direct first, organic search, cross network. So coming from other networks that link, paid search, and then referral. Okay. So if we go down here, we can see all of this great information. See this little plus sign here? This is where you can do a cross-reference. So it's kind of like a Venn diagram, right? Okay, so here's all of where all the people are coming from, but let's say I want to know what region they're coming from, right? So you can see here that yes, I've got a lot of people from the United States, but where in the United States? Looks like it's California. Here, let me. I used to be able to. It's not as good as UA. I prefer Universal Analytics. It shows you so much more. And it looks like they will not let me do that. They won't let me sort. But you can see here just really, really quickly, if you're looking to target the United States, you don't have to target all of the United States. In fact, I advise against that. And the reason being, that's a lot of budget to be spread out over a lot of people, right? If you said, hey, I'm going to give you $100 to go out to dinner, amazing. But if it's for a family of 5 that I'm taking out to dinner, we're going to McDonald's, right? But if it's just me, I'm probably going to go to a really, really nice vegan restaurant in Chinatown that I love, right? And yeah, that $100 will probably pay for just me, right? So you have to think about where your dollars are going if you are doing paid ads, and just if you're trying to target certain types of people. Like right near, we've got California, New York, and Texas, and then Virginia, then Illinois. So you can see that there are very specific states that people are going for. And even in Canada, you can see that Ontario is where it's at. Very interesting. I would have thought BC would be there just because of how many development studios we have, how many gaming studios we have, and all that. So that's actually quite surprising to me. I did not, but here, I did not expect us to be in 23rd position. I would have thought we'd be in the top 10, but instead Ontario and Quebec occupy 3 positions in the top 10. Who knew? So organic search is this. So when I go to, let's do top 10 beauty trends, 2023, okay, for example. So you can see in here that all these top 10 beauty trends, like where they're coming from, Hello Magazine. So you can see like this, these are all the organizations that are showing up in a organic search engine results page. This is what an organic search is. So if you end up showing up in here and let's say you are Vogue and they click on here, that's great for you, right? Because that's how they just found you organically versus someone up here where they had to pay, right? For the sponsored position, right? Do you see that? These are all paid positions. These are organic positions, okay? Meaning that they didn't pay to show up on page 1. These folks had to pay to show up in phase 1, on page 1. Organic social is this. So let's say people are on my social media and they're looking at all this. They're thinking, oh, okay, awesome, that's great. Cool, you can sign up, great. I'm going to go into here, my link tree, recession-proof your marketing, check out my portfolio so you can see my portfolio, blah, 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 blah. Do you see how this is working? Like this is all organic social, meaning that that traffic originally came from Instagram, right? And I didn't have to pay for it. Right now, we're doing ads for several of our clients, and all the traffic that gets pushed in through there, that comes in as paid, okay? That doesn't come in as organic. So let's go over into traffic acquisition. Very, very similar to user acquisition, but this dives a little bit deeper into which channels are performing the best for you, okay? So you can see on here that we've got direct, organic, and let's say I want to know landing page. So it looks to here that for organic search, they're just going to the home page, right? And direct, they're just going to the homepage. But this is really interesting. You can see cross networks. So on all of their owned networks, it's sending people to specific pages. Paid search, they actually, meaning they're running a paid ad on Google and they're going to the stationary page. Okay. So that tells you from all these different channels they can come from, where are they going, right? So I'm going to exit out of that. And another thing I'll do is I'll do geo again. So let's go by region. And you can see here that, yeah, California and New York, they're your best bet. If anything, if you had to choose a state to advertise in because you only had limited dollars, it would be California, and that's it. Because in the top 10, they show up 3 times, 4 times, 4 times, right? So if you only had budget to advertise in one place, it would be here, okay? It doesn't, I believe it can get me down to city, but UA isn't the best for that. See, they don't give you all the information for that, and you can see that they're not set. So you would have to cross-reference this data with your Google Search Console, which will likely tell you more. Okay. And which is extremely annoying because you know that California and the different cities, is it LA? Is it Orange County? Is it Irvine? Is it San Fran? Is it San Diego? I don't know. They haven't told you. You're going to have to cross-reference this data with Google Search Console. Okay. What is cross-network? Okay. Here. Google will explain it better. They have a lot of new terms. So I actually had to learn like a new vocabulary. Like Peter and I had to learn a new, it's cross-network GA4. Okay, so cross-network is people who arrive at your site or your app, okay? Because that's the thing with GA4 is it combines both your web app data with your website data. Okay, so these are people who arrive at your site via ads that appear on a variety of networks. So, okay, if cross-network is still considered paid, but paid is also its own category. Oh yeah, yes, I'll show you where to get that. So here you land on a page, you see where this little plus is, hit the plus, and then you can cross-reference anything across there. So what I want to know is cross-network versus paid ads on GA4. So let's move this back up here. So again, cross-network is people coming from search and display. So when it comes to search and display ads, let's say you're on In Style magazine, and you know how there are those ads on the side, right? They pop up there. It's like maybe Dior or Fenty Beauty, but that you'll see Celine Dion. I had to see these here. These are all ads. These are all ads. If you've recently been searching for Maltesers or child car seats, most likely that's what would be showing up here. Sephora is showing up on here because my mom asked me if I would help her get a new moisturizer. And there you go, right? Never have I looked at any of these products. I don't wear lipstick. I don't really wear makeup. But I was looking for something for my mom. So Sephora decided to put these up on here for me. Does that make sense? And so these are considered cross-network. These are cross-network versus top beauty trends versus these up here. Mineral sunscreen versus these as paid ads. Does that make sense? So these are paid ads versus these as cross-network. So they're both, see, and this is the strange thing is they are both, paid, but cross-network versus actual Google ads, they're set up differently when you're in Google ads. So because this is a Google product, they want to separate that information from you. I hope that makes sense. So let's skedaddle right along. Oh dear, We're already at 12:30. Okay, so let's go into engagement, and I'll just give you a quick overview of the engagement overview. So this shows you how engaged people are on your website. So you can see here that the average engaged time is 1 minute, and it's close to 2 minutes. That is really good. Okay. The reason why I say that's really good is because people are amoebas. They go there to get what they want, and then they usually leave. Oftentimes, like how many times have you ever gone online, you search for something, it didn't give you what you wanted, and then you left, right? And then you go to the next search result. Happens all the time. You know, you're like I said in the first workshop, your target market is not so different from you. They're not some magical unicorn that you've never seen and don't understand. They perform very similarly to you. If they don't have a good experience on your website, they're going to leave, right? Because that's how it is for you. You can see here, average engagement time per session. So each session is every time they go to your site. So this is just trying to break it down for you. You can see here that in the last 30 minutes, these were my top pages, okay? And I want to show you in here, view pages and screens. This is really important. These are your top pages. Super cool, right? So some of the things that people want to do is, age and gender. This is super controversial, especially these days. But if you did want to go by gender, you can try. And you can get a basic sort of feel. So you're looking at 50% more or 40% more male than female are going to the Google site, to the Google homepage, the Google Merchandise Store homepage. Again, a very rough guesstimate, given that these are quote unquote unknown. If these people are on a Mac, they can block a lot of information, as we all know with the new privacy things that have come out with Meta. So, but it's nice to know this type of information because that influences color, it influences design, influences the type of photos you have on there, influences the type of CTAs and how they're written, what color they are, where they show up, right? This is all user design, things that are super important for you to know. So you can look at this by traffic source, which is super fun. You can also go, let's say you want to try out age. Okay, fine, 25 to 34. They're not telling you a whole heck of a lot though, okay? So let's see, what question do we have here? If you want to know, to see how one particular URL site, say from January, how would you search that? Okay, so let's say I want to go, let's change my dates in here. You said you wanted to do Jan to April. So I'm going to go all the way up here to go to Jan 1, and I'm going to go all the way down to April 12, and I'm going to apply. And then let's say I want to search for how well my drinkware is doing. So I'm going to type in drinkware. See that little button there? I'm going to click enter, and it's going to tell me how many people went to a drinkware. 40,859 people went. These are the general ages of the people that went, which is fantastic information to know. The more granular you get, the more information that gets shown. Okay, don't ask me why. It's just the way Google operates. Okay, but you can see here, it's broken down by ages, but wow, I would definitely push a lot of drinkware options for them. Can you put a whole URL in there too? Oh yeah, for sure. So I'm going to go to the Google Merchandise Store. I want to go to official branded bags. Oh no, let's go drinkware because we were just in drinkware. Okay, cool. This is a cute cup. I like the color. So I'm going to go here. And I really dislike this thing. If someone can tell me how to get rid of it, that would be fantastic. Okay. So you can put a whole URL in there, but it's better that you don't. It's better that you just put in part of a URL. So salt water blue mug, Bear with me. Okay. Let's see how many. Okay, so they're not giving me that information. So I might just go with salt water. And looks like it's not popular enough. So let's go to, okay, this is the iconic mug. Interesting how they're not showing us that. Oh, I should also let you know that it's not perfect right now. Page title, maybe landing page. Let's go to landing page and let me see if I can do that. No, but you can see here that it does tell you, it does give you that option. So if I did this, let's see what happens. And this is a test. You see that? Even though I knew it was something that was already tested, they're not letting me search by that. So I'm going to actually get rid of all these. How do I get rid of all these? Oh, it's telling you right here, but it's not telling you down here. Fascinating. It won't let me see. It won't even let me search. So GA4 is not perfect. So let's say I want to search for this and I'm putting that in there. Or maybe I'm just even searching for a mug. It's not letting me search. But it lets me go really general. So you can probably still test for specific URLs if you went into landing page, if that helps. So pages and screens, like this tells you, it's very similar to landing page. I usually live in the landing page world because I am like you, Alana. Like I want to know exactly how one blog performed. I want to know exactly how one program page performed. I want to know exactly how well a campaign to a face mask did. Can you put maybe it's after the first? That's how we currently look up our URLs. Yes, hang on a second. So if you're on, show you something. Okay, so I know I said I was going to show you some, so you can kind of see in here, if we were to go into, this is GA4. So let's say that we wanted to go into acquisition. I wanted to go into all traffic, or sorry, I want behavior. I wanted to go to landing pages. It's actually very, very easy for me to cross-reference in the advanced folder. You see that? Containing. See, you can do / you can do pluses, whereas in here, it does not let you do that. In fact, the smaller your search, the better. Whereas you can see here that in Universal Analytics, you can do all kinds of dimensions, but that's just not available oh no, I got rid of it. Nuts. It's just not available in GA4. Let me see if there's another question. Okay, so I'm going to keep going through reports. Let's go into engagement. Oh, another question. You're welcome. Okay, so that's landing page. So let's just stay here for a little while longer because I want to talk about what this actually means. I want you to be able to play with this over here. So you can see platform and device. You can see device category. So you can see here, the majority of people are on their mobile. So it's about 20% more mobile than it is desktop, but desktop is equally good. Okay. So you can see here, you can filter by a device. So you can go on desktop, what are people looking at? And then you can also filter by mobile. So it's actually really cool how you can do that. Very, very important to know what tech your people are on, because you need to know what their mobile experience is like. Okay, let me see if I can. So I'm going to go into, I'll give you a short view into monetization. I don't know how many of you have actually monetized your sites, but this is great for you to know. So it's really cool. It helps you It's probably better in publisher ads. So let's say, so Google currently does not use any other publisher other than ads to run theirs. But if you had other types of ads coming through and you were monetizing them with Google Tag Manager, and we were able to keep track of all your revenue and like your shopping cart, this would be where you would go. So let's hop into retention. Okay, so retention is a really nice place to hang out. It doesn't give you a whole ton of information, but I will show you something really cool. See this search bar? You can actually be really intuitive and it'll show you. Like, oh, I just want to know how many users this month versus last year. So I'm going to type that in and see what happens. Overview. No, I don't want, yeah, I want users. And there you go. So it gives you a look to see how well people performed last year versus this year, right? So it can give you comparisons. So you can see here that they are down. That is quite significant, actually. So I'm sure Google has their eyes on that, right? So users this month compared to last month, they are down 66%, which is really bad. That is a definite something to look at. So my guess is that they are probably doing fewer ads or fewer actual campaigns this year than they are last year. You can also do, this is also very fun. You can go, I don't know, top users by city. There you go. That's even so let's do that. Okay. And there you go, by city. And that tells you all the different cities. Isn't that cool? So you can just, because Google is an AI, you're allowed to just type things in. Like if you really don't know where to find certain things, just type it in. And my guess is that it'll probably show up. Where's another one that I thought was really fun. Top landing pages by city. Let's see what that gives us. Okay, cool. This is very helpful. I want to make this big. Oh, and usually what would happen is I get, like my clients will say, hey, can you quickly give me the top pages by users or top pages by cities? I run the report and then I download it and then I send it to them. So it's actually really easy. So if you've got advertisers, if you've got writers that you want to send information to, you can send them reports just like that. They've also got suggested questions, which I think is fantastic. So it's like, what languages do most people use? So it actually prompts you. This is something that UA doesn't have, that GA4 does, and I will applaud Google on this. I do like this, but remember, you can just, if you have no idea what you're doing and you have no idea where to look, but you know what you're looking for, just type it in and then see what it'll show you. Read through each, click on the one that makes the most sense to you, and then you go, okay? And then I'll finally take you through demographics. I mean, we already went through demographics. It's not going to show you a whole ton, okay? It's not going to show you a whole ton, but it will show you what it can, okay? They have a very young market, 24 to 35. That doesn't surprise me. It also doesn't surprise me that New York, of course, Toronto, biggest city, and then San Jose, which is where Silicon Valley is. Right? So this doesn't surprise me at all. English is the language that is used. But having said that, they could be in India but speak fantastic English. They could be in Thailand and speak fantastic English. So English is just the language that gets used on their browser. Okay. And then demographic details. You can go further and further into this. And then from there, you can go into more demographics like gender, you know, age, whatever you want to, like, you can see here where all the different users are coming from. So these are just some of the dimensions. You might want to go country by landing page so that you know where people are going. And this is where I like to use the demographic data for. I want to know where they're from. I want to know basic male to female. See, there are about 20% more males than there are females. 50% more male than there are females, because 50% of 40 is 20, 20 plus 40 is 60, right? So that's a really big shift. And then you can see your age, which is always nice to know, because then you can see what topics are people in this age group most interested in. You know, if people are coming from New York, Toronto, and San Jose, then that tells me, or if there's Montreal, this tells me that I need to have French and English, right? Or maybe I don't, right? Mountain View, I believe that's in California. That's where Apple is, and Google, I believe. So these tell you a ton of different things. Okay, I got a question here. If our site is not showing this information, is there a reason, or would Google not be tracking yet for the time period? That depends. So given how long your GA4 has been running, and if it was installed correctly, that would dictate whether or not GA4 has been installed. An easy way to check is to simply go to your Google merchandise store. Oh, okay, see, they don't even offer, they have Universal Analytics and Master View. So you can see here that I've changed to Universal Analytics. You can see right there, Universal Analytics will no longer be processing new data starting July 1. Sad face, very, very, very sad. Your information will be in here. So what you want is to have GA4 running concurrently, okay, at the same time as UA, so that they're both tracking information, right? Does that make sense? So Laura, what information are you looking for, but that's just not there? Type that in. Or if anyone has any questions. Demographics, age, and gender. Okay. So is it giving you an unknown, or is it blank? Because even over here, it'll give you an unknown, because it's not a politically correct question to necessarily ask, even though it's very important to sales and marketing. Okay, it's blank. My guess is that it was just like here with, like, it was blank like this. So my guess is that it just needs more time for information to show up. Or it could be that your market does not like giving up that information, which is also totally and completely fine, because this is the day and age where maybe people don't necessarily identify with a specific gender. They don't like giving up their age. I know that being an Apple user, I'm able to block a lot of information. And it is now required that you let people know whether or not you're doing cookie tracking on your website. So people could be declining all of your cookie tracking, right? So which then would mean that any demographic information that you have would be null and void. So I hope that this gives you an idea of how you can quickly hop in, like the goal, right? The goal is to keep these in mind. You know, these are the questions that you're trying to answer. These are the marketing, sales, and content planning questions that you want to be able to get the answers to when you're in Google Analytics. So, like I said before, workshop 1 was very much about the technical parts. This workshop is about reading all the different reports and then starting to think about these questions. The next workshop is when we start getting harder into marketing, right? And the sales, and like how you can actually structure your website for like optimal conversions, whatever those conversions may be. Sign up to get, newsletters and articles in your inbox. However you structure that, that's when we start getting into that kind of information. What are you doing on social? What are you doing on your website to get more people coming, to get more people engaged, to attract more of a specific type of person, for you to realize, oh no, I'm not mobile friendly, and for how maybe you want to attract advertisers onto your site, right? So that's going to be a really big question that gets answered next week, but also things that you should be thinking about now, because these are all questions that can be answered in here. Association publication without a paid subscription. Which of the 6 report cards do you think would be most useful? Engagement, demographics, tech, and retention. That's going to depend on what you want to achieve, right? So that's going to depend on how well these questions get answered in here.